Hi, today I'd like to cover my Behringer Xenyx 1002B. It's a mixer, so it's got 10 inputs. It's a 2-bus mixer. It's got the Xenyx preamps, which I guess are okay. It's British EQ, which I haven't really quite understood what they mean by that, but it is three-band EQ. And then it also has, you can run this off batteries as well. And I use this just plugged into the wall all the time. The reason I wanted to cover this is because it's my central hub for routing all my different signals to the, I'll call it the house or the room amplifier and speakers. So if I'm doing a playback of something, for mixing, I'll use my near field monitors, but just for general use in this room, I'll use the do the speakers through the amplifier power amp. Now I got this particular model because it did have a lot of stereo channels, which I had a PV before, and it only had a couple of stereo channels, and I ran out of those pretty quick. So this one has 2 mono inputs, and then it has the 1, 2, 3, 4 stereo inputs. And so you can see I've got them labeled accordingly. So the 2 monos I don't really use too much. I had a trio for a while, and I don't remember if that was, I don't think it was, it could have been stereo, I don't think it was, but I had it hooked up to this, and I stopped using it, so I got rid of it. Anyway, so you could put some mono signal in there if you wanted. We've got a tape deck, so that's stereo. My PC is stereo. My keyboard setup is stereo, and then my Model 12 for listening to that is stereo as well. Now, like I said, I don't monitor my mixes through this. This is just more for listening at the house speakers, just to kind of, I say house, in the studio, to hear if I want to listen to something on YouTube, for example, I can, this is what I'd listen to it through. Or if I'm just playing around with the kids, or the kids are playing on the keyboards, we would just go through this one labeled keys. And then sometimes I'll use the Model 12 playback if I just want to hear it on a separate set of speakers through a different system instead of the near field monitors. And it definitely sounds different. I like the monitors better, but this is fine for the purposes of what I do. I've had this for several years now. I really like it because it was so easy to use, and like I said, it had all the stereo channels on it. At the top here, you've got your inputs. So like I said, it's got the 2 monos. It's got, I believe all these have mic inputs along the top. So you got mic or line input. The 2 mono channels you do have an instrument input as well if you wanted to do that. Since I'm not really using it to mixing a band or anything like that, I don't use any of that. All the channels have a gain. One thing on the stereo channels is you have a stereo gain, or a line-in gain for the stereo channels, and then a mic gain for the microphone, the XLR input. I'm not sure why they have the 2 on there like that, but they just do. So that's just something to be aware of if you were to buy something like this. As usual, it's going to have the pan for all the channels. Okay. Across there, it's the little black knobs, and then it's got for each channel the low, medium, and high, or low, mid, and high EQ bands, which I really like this on this, because sometimes you get these mixers and they just have 2, just a high and a low, but this has the 3-band. It'd be nice if it was the sweepable mids, but I mean, it's inexpensive and it works well for what I'm doing. Each channel does have a monitor send as well. And there's an FX send as well. Now, there's not an FX return. You'd have to come into another channel if you're going to do that. Now, the only channel that doesn't have the separate microphone input and stereo input is going to be channel 12. And I think that did that because of the real estate back here. There's only so much room, and they wanted to keep this real simple. So channels 9 and 10 don't have a mic input. So yeah, you can see I'm pretty tight here, and that's the reason I've got it kind of an odd angle. This is kind of up high on my desk here, and I tried to pull it out a little bit further, but these wires are pretty set. I guess I try to be kind of neat back there, and I guess I'm so neat I can't move the mixer around very well. It does have some sends. Obviously, it's got your main outs, and those will go to the house sound, basically. The Model 12 reference on this is where it comes out of the Model 12 into this mixer and then goes to the house. So it gets a little confusing sometimes when you walk over and it's like, oh, is this the Model 12? Do you send it to the Model 12? It's like, no, this is the output from the Model 12, and the Model 12 will actually output to the PC as well. So, which I would probably use it for that more often. There's a monitor send over here. I haven't been too happy. They said it was pre-fader, but I had some problems with that, so maybe I needed to play with that some more. I had it's kind of a silly little, it's like a VU. They're like these little tubes. I think they call them cat's eyes or something, but it was a special kind of tube that would, depending on the volume, would go up and down with these little lights, and I was playing around with having that there. That eventually burned out, and I don't know if maybe it had something to do with this monitor send, so just be aware of that. It does have phantom power if you wanted to use that. Let's see, it doesn't have a indication, though, I noticed, since I never used the mics on here. But it's got your normal phone out and everything. Fader for the mains. So it's a very usable central piece of equipment that I've used for years. I kind of got it because I have a bunch of keyboards, and I'm not a keyboard player. I just like to fool around on them. But when I got that, I realized I needed more stereo channels because I've got another Mackie mixer over here, and it's got lots of stereo inputs on it because a lot of the keyboards are stereo and mono as well. Okay, well, that's really about all I wanted to say. This thing is battery powered as well, if I didn't mention that. There's plenty of input outputs on this thing, and I think for the price, they're not very expensive. I'd have to look them up again because I've bought it a long time ago. Gosh, it may have been 10 years ago or something. So now if you look, you'll notice a bunch of these manufacturers have the same design mixers, and I suspect they come out of the same factory, and they just kind of rebrand them and maybe do some changes, maybe cosmetic, and maybe some functional changes as well. But they're probably all have the same capability and the same quality. So Behringer's been fine. I used to, when they first started, I always had questions about their quality because sometimes the quality wasn't there, especially in the mixers. I had some really cheap Behringer mixers, but this really restored my faith in Behringer, especially their mixers or anything with knobs on it were suspect. But I think they've upped their game and got higher quality potentiometers and things. So that's all I wanted to say. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below. I always encourage people to subscribe and to like, because that really helps my channel. And I'd like to thank you very much for watching.